The Jonathan Kuminga saga continues to be one of the most fascinating storylines of the NBA offseason, and new reporting suggests that the Golden State Warriors may have overplayed their hand in trade negotiations. The situation has become increasingly messy, with both sides seemingly entrenched in their positions and potential trade partners walking away from discussions. According to recent reports, the Milwaukee Bucks emerged as a legitimate trade partner for Kuminga, but negotiations fell apart when Golden State made what many would consider an unreasonable demand. The Warriors reportedly insisted on including Bobby Portis in any sign-and-trade scenario, a request that Milwaukee quickly rejected and effectively ended their interest in pursuing the young forward. This development highlights several concerning aspects of how the Warriors have handled the entire Kuminga situation. Rather than working collaboratively to find a mutually beneficial solution, they appear to be taking a hardline approach that prioritizes extracting maximum value over maintaining positive relationships with both the player and potential trade partners. The demand for Portis is particularly telling because it reveals the Warriors' unrealistic expectations about Kuminga's trade value in his current situation. Portis is an established veteran who averaged 13.8 points and 7.0 rebounds while shooting 37.3% from three-point range last season. He's a proven playoff performer who's been a key contributor to Milwaukee's success, including their 2021 championship run. Expecting a team to give up a player of Portis' caliber for a restricted free agent who hasn't signed his qualifying offer and has had an inconsistent role with his current team demonstrates a significant disconnect between the Warriors' valuation and market reality. This type of overreach in negotiations often indicates an organization that isn't reading the room correctly regarding their assets' actual value. The broader context of Kuminga's situation makes the Warriors' approach even more puzzling. The 21-year-old forward has been professional throughout this entire process, despite having legitimate grievances about his role and usage within Golden State's system. He's looking for opportunities that the Warriors have been unable or unwilling to provide, yet they seem reluctant to facilitate a move that could benefit everyone involved. NBA sources have suggested that Kuminga's market value could reach $125 million over multiple years, significantly more than the two-year, $45 million offer that Golden State has reportedly put on the table. This massive gap in valuation creates an almost impossible negotiating environment where neither side is likely to budge significantly from their position. The Warriors' insistence on maximizing their return rather than finding an amicable solution sends a concerning message throughout the league. Other players and their representatives are undoubtedly watching how Golden State handles this situation, and the perception that the organization isn't willing to work with players seeking better opportunities could have long-term ramifications for future free agent recruitment. This approach is particularly short-sighted for a team that has prided itself on maintaining strong relationships with players and creating a culture that attracts talent. The Warriors' championship runs were built partly on their reputation as a player-friendly organization that treated individuals with respect and professionalism. The current handling of the Kuminga situation threatens to undermine that carefully cultivated image. The Milwaukee connection is especially interesting because the Bucks represent exactly the type of situation that could have benefited all parties involved. Milwaukee needs young talent to complement their aging core, while Kuminga would have had opportunities for increased playing time and responsibility alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. The Bucks' offensive system, which emphasizes spacing and allows versatile forward to operate in multiple roles, could have been perfect for Kuminga's skill set. He would have had chances to develop his three-point shooting while using his athleticism in transition. And as a cutter, the learning opportunities alongside established stars could have accelerated his development significantly. From Milwaukee's perspective, adding a young player with Kuminga's upside without sacrificing key rotation pieces like Portis made perfect sense. They could have offered competitive money while providing the role and opportunities that Kuminga has been seeking. The fact that Golden State's unreasonable demands killed these discussions reflects poorly on their negotiating strategy. The Warriors' approach also ignores the reality of their own championship timeline. With Stephen Curry entering his late 30s and the core group aging, maximizing their remaining competitive window should be the priority. Holding on to a disgruntled young player who doesn't fit seamlessly into their system while alienating potential trade partners serves no one's interests. If the Warriors genuinely believe that Kuminga doesn't deserve the money and role he's seeking, the logical solution would be to facilitate a trade to a team that does value him at that level. Instead, they seem determined to either get him at their preferred price or extract maximum value in a trade, even if that means prolonging an uncomfortable situation for everyone involved. The professional manner in which Kuminga has handled the situation makes the Warriors' approach even more questionable. He hasn't demanded a trade publicly, hasn't created locker room drama, and has remained available for team activities despite his contract situation. This type of professionalism deserves to be met with good faith efforts to find a solution that works for both parties. The October 1st deadline for restricted free agents adds another layer of complexity to this situation. If no agreement is reached by then, Kuminga will be forced to accept a qualifying offer, creating an even more awkward dynamic for the upcoming season. Playing on a one-year deal, while clearly wanting to be elsewhere, rarely produces optimal results for any party involved. The league is watching how the situation unfolds, and the Warriors risk setting a precedent that could hurt them in future negotiations with other young players. Word travels quickly in NBA circles, and the perception that Golden State isn't willing to work collaboratively with players seeking better opportunities could make future recruitment more difficult. Other teams that might have been interested in Kuminga may also be deterred by the Warriors' apparent unwillingness to negotiate reasonably. If Milwaukee walked away due to unrealistic demands, other potential partners might not even bother engaging in discussions, further limiting Golden State's options. The irony of this entire situation is that the Warriors could have potentially avoided it entirely with better communication and planning. If they had been more transparent about Kuminga's role within their system and their long-term plans for him, both sides might have been able to reach a more amicable solution earlier in the process. As this standoff continues, it's becoming increasingly clear that someone will need a compromise for any resolution to occur. The question is whether the Warriors will recognize that their current approach isn't serving anyone's best interests and adjust their strategy accordingly, or whether they'll continue down a path that could ultimately harm their relationships with players, agents, and other teams around the league. The Kuminga situation has become a test case for how the Warriors handle player relations in a changing NBA landscape. The outcome will likely influence how other young players and their representatives view Golden State as a destination, making it one of the most important negotiations in the franchise's recent history.